Welcome to the Empowered Career Woman podcast. My name is Kathy Tellis, and I'm so excited to have one of my very longtime friends, best friend from college, Amy Matsumoto. Hello,
Hey,
Amy.
good morning, girl. How's it going?
Good morning. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait. I've been thinking about you and just talking about your story for the longest time, and I cannot wait to have my listeners hear you and hear your voice and just the things that you bring to the table. Because today's episode is all about self-care and entrepreneurial success, right? I mean,
Yes.
you have to have that self-care to be successful in business. And so before we even get started, Amy, would you please share your story? Tell us who you are, where you come from, and like tell us what you're doing with your business right now.
Yeah. So, as you said, I'm Amy Hernandez Matsumoto, and currently I am living in Vancouver, Washington. My husband and I have both been here for about 17 years now. And one of the cool things is, I got started here as a teacher in middle school and then high school. But then somewhere along those lines, my husband and I were like, you know what, if we're going to get a restaurant, let's get started. And so we started up a food cart, and that was very successful for 4 years. In fact, we grew out of it very quickly, and that just helped us lead into our restaurant. And that's what we're doing now. So it has, despite our kind of sad opening of it being opened one day before the pandemic hit, we were able to bounce back because of all of our customers and our community and our thriving. So we feel very lucky. Thank you.
And the name of your business is,
Pizzeria La Sorrentina.
I absolutely love it. Yes, yes. Listen, you guys, if you guys are in the Vancouver area, you must go because they have the best food, I have to say. And during Christmas or the holidays, they have the panettone, and I get the one with the chocolate. It's to die for, okay? It's just to die for. I buy a couple of them. My daughter like craves it every year. And she's like, are they making it during the summertime when you go back up there to Portland or like the Vancouver area? I know it's so good. Your food is so delicious.
Thank you.
My goodness. Okay, so let's just kind of get started in this whole podcast because we want to know about your personal journey. What inspired you to start your business? What challenges did you guys face in that beginning? I know you kind of talked a little bit about the pandemic, but even before that, when you guys did the food cart.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, just to let I have always dreamed of being a teacher. My husband has always dreamed of being a chef. And so I think that it was a little tough at first, for him to kind of convince me that this was a good path for both of us, mainly because, as a teacher, I have set holidays, I have ideas of how I can stay in control of things. However, with a restaurant, I mean, you can have some control, but every day is totally different regarding, food prices or customers or all these other things that you just don't know. And so it did take some while. And so the fact that we started or kind of launched our product in a food cart really helped warm me up to the idea. And because I'm more of a people person, I got to see that fun aspect of the business, interacting with people, getting to know them. And so I realized that, there's lots of different sides of running a business. And I think what really helped me is knowing what I do best, which was, the social media, working with customers, getting to know them, listening to them, planning out different ideas. So that's kind of how the food cart happened. And then we were so fortunate that everybody was like, we want more. We know Daisuke, your husband, can do more. And then it just led us to the restaurant. Now, the challenges there is you are literally married to the restaurant. Not only am I married to my business partner, I am married to that restaurant. There is, it is like a baby. And it's something that you just can't turn away a day for. You got to have everything kind of planned or in know of what's happening. And then again, there are the challenges with the pandemic. It was the wildfires that we also had. It was the snowmageddon. It was, all of a sudden we can't get yeast and we have to beg friends in Italy to send us things. I mean, so there's constant challenges all the time. And I guess that's the benefit of being a middle school teacher, is because also you don't always know how the kids are going to act. So you can respond quicker sometimes to those
Yeah,
things.
I think you're prepared as an educator, right? You're working, you think, okay, being a teacher, you have curriculum, you know the things to, but there's things that pop up on a daily basis. You just know how to pivot on, on the fly. And when you own a business and it's an unknown, it's, oh my gosh, how do I do it? Am I going to make a mistake? And you guys have that business for now 5 years outside of the food cart. You had the food cart for four.
Mm-hmm.
And then now the restaurant, the standalone, the actual physical building, right? For 5 years, that's a huge undertaking, and you should be so proud. You and Daisuke have worked so, so hard, and I'm so proud of you guys. I've been through it from the very beginning with you guys when you guys were, getting the food cart, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're going to be a part of this. It's so wonderful.
And I think that's what makes this also so beautiful too, because like when we did our food cart, we ran a Kickstarter campaign. And so we literally, like, you are considered our OG. Like, we have our OGs, we have our people that have been with us from the beginning. And we, have so much gratitude for everybody, for you, for everybody that has stuck with us. And so it feels like we're not just doing this for us, we're doing this for everybody that believed in us.
Yeah.
And that really helps us like keep getting up every morning when we're exhausted and our feet hurt,
Mm.
because we know it's not just about us, it's about a community that wanted what we're providing, and
Wow.
they really appreciate us too.
You kind of just answered my question that I'm about to say is like, were there times of burnout where you felt like you almost wanted to quit? And how did you overcome those kinds of obstacles?
The first time I had real burnout, honestly, was when we had this grand opening. We had trained for months. We were so excited to have our first day and sold out, ready for the second day, when we found out that the pandemic hit and all restaurants would be shut down, no more dine in, all that stuff. So that was extremely heartbreaking. And we had to really allow ourselves some time to just kind of mourn that idea and mourn that, um, and, and just kind of give us some time to just take it all in. And I think, what really helped again, and this is why I really truly believe in community, is one of our customers wrote a beautiful poem and posted it on our Facebook. And they were like, whenever you're ready. I mean, people were starting to say, whenever you're ready. So they also knew we needed some time. And then literally when we got that, it was like, let's go.
Yeah.
And then starting it was just kind of scary. It was really scary. And I remember I couldn't get the POS system to work. And I was on the ground and I was like crying. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I again reached out to a friend. A lot of times as women and entrepreneurs, and just, especially I'm the oldest, I'm Latina, we think we can do it all. We don't need to reach out. We should just take on the world,
Yeah.
and when I realized that I needed to reach out for help and have somebody, talk me through it, that kind of gave me some calm, some time to think about, like, I'm not alone in this. Yeah, Daisuke had his thing, I have my thing, but we still have other people. So I
Mm.
think honestly, just giving yourself some time to kind of mourn or or have that grace with yourself to know like, okay, that's not how it was, but let's try this again, and to give yourself time to rest and reach out for help. So,
I love that sense of community because in anything that you do, whether it's, building a career in corporate America, 9 to 5, or you're building a business that you're doing on your own, or just going to school. And I mean, I am so grateful that I met you in college.
I know, I know, I know. I seriously,
That's
I
a
think
whole nother story for all of
that
our
is,
listeners. That's
that
a
is.
whole nother story that we can go on forever just about how Amy and I met. But I have to say, Amy was such a rock and a foundation for me when I was in college. And you need that kind of sense of community, and how you brought that along just even in your whole journey in your career and in your business. I absolutely love it. Let's kind of talk about that whole self-care, in
Ah.
entrepreneurial success, because what are some of your self-care habits that you've had, that you've done that's made the biggest impact in your business and in your mindset?
Honestly, because I'm kind of more a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. So I have had to learn to be organized. I think that being organized in the sense of like, where you have an end goal, you have your vision, and then you constantly create steps in how you're going to make that. I also already for the whole, like in December, I planned out all the calendar of staff meetings that we're going to have for the year, all the days that we're going to have events. I even planned out when I was going to have time for me to do my personal writing, when I was going to grade. Even if I can't make it that day, I planned out the whole year. That way, when I'm not sure, like, okay, what should I be doing? Or, am I, just on track? I have that. I definitely would say like planning out things and planning them well is very important. Um, I also want to say, like, like I said, I mean, sometimes we try to take on everything.
Mhm.
And it has been probably, 5 years for me to really understand what is my role in this restaurant, or what is my role as an educator, and what is my role now as a budding writer. So I think just kind of really seeing where you shine and then sticking to that. Don't try to go in to like help figure out other things, or don't try to, put yourself in situations you don't know if you can handle. Just stick to what you can at first and just do that and do it well. I think a lot of times we end up doing way too much. I mean, I am constantly guilty of this, and just learning to try to focus on what the one thing that you can do well, and just do it right, you know.
Love
So,
that. Well, there was a situation when just you and Daisuke just in December or maybe even November, you and I had connected, and you guys were even considering opening up a gelato shop kind of a couple doors down from the, your restaurant. And talk about that and the boundaries that you had to set for yourself, and that conversation that you had to have with Daisuke as a not just a business partner, but also your spouse and, your partner, your life partner. Um,
uh,
because those are boundaries I believe a lot of my listeners, as they are building themselves as career women, as entrepreneurs, how do they set boundaries that are healthy for themselves, but also healthy for the business so that they can still thrive? Will you talk about that story a little bit?
yeah, yeah. So, my husband and I got super excited. We went to gelato training in New York with an Italian ambassador of gelato. We went to California for a pizza training. So we had this great idea of opening up another smaller place to kind of target and market an area where we're just not thriving yet, which is the lunch area. And then also because since we do so much authentic food, people are like, our customers are like, we want gelato, and we want gelato. And
I
so we
want
have,
gelato.
I know, right? You want gelato, I want gelato. So um, a lot of us want gelato. But anyway, so So yeah, we literally went through three different places. Like, we're going to go here, then no, it didn't work out. Then we're going to go here. And like after finding out the cost of everything, and then we found a spot. It just kind of opened up and things really just seemed to go well. And, we talked to a lot of customers. Customers were excited. We're starting to get things in place. But through November and December, I mean, both Daisuke and I were so overwhelmed with just all our classes. I was teaching WSU and working the restaurant and taking night classes in Portland. We were doing cooking classes, certain events at the restaurant. We were rolling out our panettone, which is like a 3-day process that doesn't allow one to sleep at all.
Mm.
And the one thing that I think that as women, we don't always lean into enough is trust our bodies and trust our hearts. And as much as I was like ready for this to go and we talked it up and we were excited, something just felt wrong in my whole body. I was constantly tense in my shoulders. Whenever we started talking about it, I started to feel dread. And I noticed, like, even though cost wise, I think it would have worked very well and we had a great business plan. We had kind of really figured out tons of like the inventory costs and everything to make this work. However, I saw my husband and I, as we're close to 50 now, and I just saw how run down we were already,
Mhm.
how stressed out we were. And I was scared to tell him. So I called you up, of course, to get the good advice. And, because like I said, instead of trying to figure this out on my own, you got to reach out to people. You've got to reach out to people that, want to support you in the best way. They have no connection to this except for they want what's best for you. And that was you. So I reached out to you and, yeah, you helped me really see that through everything, this was not what I wanted. And it wasn't time for us now. Um, and we also just found out our dog had cancer. And so just so much of like thinking about the quality of our life right now and what is best for us. And I was a little nervous to tell my husband because we had been planning this for a year and we've already invested in some money. And interestingly, what he said was, thank you. He said, thank you for being the one to make the decision for both of us because he trusted me enough to know that I wasn't doing this out of anything except for what's best for both of us as a couple, as human beings, and just adults trying to move forward in this life. And so as soon as that happened, I don't know what it was. It was like we were able to breathe fresh air again.
Yeah.
And, I am so grateful, of course, to you and grateful that I could, you know, find my truth, and try to listen to my body and really understand that, you know, of course, money is great, but so is health. So,
100%. Oh my
you know,
goodness.
so is health and so is your
So is
mental
health.
like, yeah.
I mean, well, you can't even do your business if you are not healthy, if your mind is not right. And I think that is the key when I have listeners who call me or, just folks who listen to my podcast and they reach out and they ask for some advice. And I think one of the biggest struggles for women, and this goes from when we were in college to even our beginning of our career, is struggling with guilt
Hmm.
and this feeling that if I set this boundary or if I say no, that I'm not capable. Like I have to wear this, Wonder Woman cape all the time, and we can't do that all the time. We can't. When you're having to balance your family, your personal life, you have a dog who's, just you found out about, oh my gosh, with the cancer, they are our babies. And it is troubling and it's so hard to like, oh my gosh. But I don't know why we as women tend to put all that burden on ourselves and not set those boundaries. And so, what advice can you give my listeners right now on that?
Yeah, I mean, I am, like I said, I'm guilty of this all the time. And, part of it is because I'm the oldest daughter, I'm the oldest child. I was raised as, to make things work for everybody. I was raised to be kind and smile and to serve. And so, and it isn't my nature. I mean, I think that, even in college, I remember talking with people and they're like, let's practice the word no, and I'd be like, what is that? So, and just because there was so much that I never got to do growing up, I grew up, and more on the poverty level. And so now I'm like, I want to do it all. I want to do it all and
Yeah.
make up for that. But, in the end, it is all about your health and about your clear mind. I think a lot of times, if you watch other people, this is honestly what I would say. So I, you know, I find friends that kind of do what I want to do. Okay. So
Yeah.
for example, you in college were so loving and so cariñosa. You would just hug us, you would hold our hands. You were like kind of over the top. And a little bit at first, it was a little bit like, oh my gosh, I wasn't used to that. But I loved your energy and I loved how you were always you. And so I took that on, I was like, I'm gonna, and so when I was in Mexico, I was Kathy, I was you, I was, because that's was me too, because that's what I wanted. I just had fear. And so, last year when I was teaching high school and I was doing these trips, taking kids here, I was going take adults to Cuba, like all these things. And I remember this one teacher saying, now I just focus on my husband and I don't even bother with that. And I was like, really? Like, you don't like, and she's like, no, why? I've done that already. I don't need to do it anymore. And so I started, kind of just really stepping in and talking with her every morning, learning about how she thinks, how every week, every other weekend, she plans a small getaway trip for her and her husband.
Oh, so
And I was
beautiful.
like, and I just realized, I don't always have to keep saying yes. So I find people that can set those healthy boundaries and I make them my friends. I make them a part of my community because I am going to learn from them. I mean, it's just like with everything. When I wanted to be a teacher, I like interviewed my favorite teacher over and over. I asked her lots of questions. And then when I was in college, I would talk to my teachers that, and then when I was doing my husband, before we opened up our restaurant, we interviewed probably about 10 different restaurant owners in our community. What would you have done differently? I mean, similar to what you're doing to us. So
Mhm.
we could learn from them.
Wow.
It's important that, of course I'm an educator, but we're always learning and it's okay to reach out and it's okay to admit that you don't have these skill sets. And so you want to learn them and you find people and you hang out with people that you want to become.
I absolutely love everything that you're saying, Amy. Oh my goodness. The one thing that I just love that you just talked about was the fact that you have surrounded yourself with other women who have been there and you are able to reach out to them because they can be really like a mentor and a guide for you. And I have to take a little bit of a moment for a little bit of loving on my end to you because you have been such an inspiration for a lot of people. I know how you mentor a lot of the women that work in your restaurant. I know there's a lot of people that you mentor even in school. And so know that you are reaching out to other people, but I know that there are so many people who reach out to you because of the mentorship and the care and the love that you have invested even in them, and you sharing your experiences with them is invaluable. So
Oh, well, thank you.
I just have
You
to put
know,
that in there.
oh, well, I honestly believe that, if you win, I win.
Yeah.
Because if you're able to break through different boundaries or different like limitations, as my friend, as somebody that I love, I know you're going to show me the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way we're going to progress is if we continue to not just think about ourselves, but think about us as a collective. My success will be your success. Your success is my success. We're
Love it.
making it work together. Yeah.
Love it. And for all of the listeners who are watching the YouTube right now, you are seeing that Amy has all the palm trees. She has, it looks like almost Hawaii. I feel like it. I mean, the palm trees are, flowing in the wind. The waves are like it's not even crashing hard, but it's like beautiful sandy beach right behind you. Let's talk about that background because I kind of want to be there right now with you.
Well, thank you. I that's I do think of you when I see this, but at the same time, I'm a big visualizer. And I love images that like inspire me or, help me feel like I'm in a kind of relaxed moment or somewhere where I would like to be. I mean, I am constantly making vision boards each year. I'm making, vision like journals with places and things that I want to do. So when I surround myself with those images, it stays in my mind. I'm going to be here soon. My husband and I are going to reach our 20th wedding anniversary in February, aka also August. We got married twice. And so I'm putting this out there so that I can feel like we're going to find a time in our schedule to celebrate our anniversary. So that's what this this
20
background is
years is
for.
a huge milestone. I remember when you first called me or we talked and you're like, I met the man. I met him. I met him. This is the man of my dreams and he's going to be my husband. And here we are 20 years later. Gosh, it's amazing. I can't believe it. It's
Yeah, I know.
wonderful.
Well, what I love is that we both were in each other's lives when in that sense where, I got to meet Paolo too. And
I know. This
uh,
year we make wait, 27 years of marriage.
yeah.
I cannot believe it. We were babies.
You were, but when he came to visit you in Pullman and I saw you two together, I knew.
I know it. I remember that. Oh gosh, so great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get back to this
Yeah. Yes.
amazing things for this podcast. Okay, this podcast for everybody, again, it's all about self-care in entrepreneurial success. And, with Amy being not just an educator, but she's an entrepreneur. You never even talked about you becoming a writer. Can you kind of talk about this? How did that, passion start? And, now that you're like really driving towards that, when did that start?
Well, to be honest, ever since I was little, I'd always want to like I would say, I want to be an author, I want to be a writer, I want to do this. But I never knew how. And I honestly thought this was a task that was just not even within reach for me at all. And, I was never one to be this major reader and I never was one to necessarily be a journaler. You were more the journaler because you would always gift me journals. But
Paula found all my journals. She's like, I want to read them. I'm like, they're private. Thank you very much.
but I have so much wealth of stories, just life stories. And it was actually through teaching that I would talk to my students and tell them things about my past, because I think it is important to always share your story. So like I said, that others can come up and see themselves in you. And it was the kids that would say, teacher, you need to write a book. You need to write a book, teacher. And I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to write a book. And so again, I put myself in the path of people that knew how to do this. And one was my good friend, Judith. And so she was working on a memoir. She had been a writer for, various publications. She had taken numerous classes. So I just asked her, what do I do? I want to be a writer. And she just gave me a list of places to take classes. And in the pandemic, I started. And so at first it was just learning and balancing. And now it's realizing I want to write more than I want to open up another gelato shop.
Yeah.
So it's also like just coming to terms with your real passion. What is it that drives you to wake up? What is it that gets you excited? And that's it. And I have just found a whole new community of people. In fact, tonight I'm meeting with two amazing women. One is, uh, also just an amazing writer and also editor, and the other one is working on her first memoir. In fact, she has already gone through the editing process and publisher. But again, we're working together so that we build each other up and we're supporting each other and we're learning from each other. And, you know, I think I always will strive towards areas of community. I didn't think that writing would be a community focused thing, but it is
Yeah.
because you have to have people read your work. You have to get feedback constantly. You
Yeah.
have to talk it out with others. You can't just be in your room and, just like, no, you have to share. So, yeah, it is something that has given me joy. And I always thought teaching was my number one passion, and it is still my passion, but writing is pushing itself up there.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. That is so cool. It's funny when you said, in your room and writing, and you're thinking everything is, this is solid. Everyone's gonna love this content. And then you have somebody else read it. You're like,
Yeah, I
to
know.
tweak this and we need to and gosh, that feedback sometimes is like harsh to receive, but then you know that you're stretching yourself and you're growing and you're learning and you're developing yourself as a writer.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was great at first because I could say, oh, I'm so new to this. This is my first year. This is my second year. This is my third year. Next year, I can't really say that anymore.
Exactly.
I can't like, put all like act like, oh, I don't know much. No, it's like, well, I do know. And now I just got to get better.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's kind of circle back on this one, like actionable items that you can share with my listeners, because a lot of them, as I shared with you, they're either in their 9 to 5, they're wanting to grow in their careers, or they're also thinking about building up a business, or they are in a business and they're looking to thrive in their business, right? Like, what's one self-care practice that every entrepreneur should start implementing today?
Schedule in a day or half a day just for you. Block it out once a week. You have your day. And maybe that day is you taking a walk and letting everything like you decompress the week, you plan in your head, you write in your head, whatever, but that is that sacred day for you. And if you can't do a full day, which because I know sometimes, especially now, we're in a hustler culture and we're constantly having to do various things, make it a half a day.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, I do have kind of not an event, but something that a meeting that I need to have from 2 to 4. But the whole morning is just for me. That is when I am going to allow myself to feel guilt-free about doing whatever it is I want to do in the morning, you know.
Love it.
So I think that doing that from the beginning is key because otherwise, especially when you're first starting, you're going to push yourself beyond anything you've ever like imagined yourself. And so if you can start building that habit of taking one day or half a day for yourself, it's going to become like muscle memory and you're
Mhm.
just going to know when to stop, let it go and just be with you, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, I love that. The other day, ironically, Paulo's appointment didn't come through. They had to postpone it. And I am like, well, honey, it's about 4 o'clock. I want to go. I'm getting my nails done. And I do that. That is my self-care day. That is absolutely what I need to do. And he's like, oh man, I need somebody to like massage my feet. And I'm like, why don't you just come in and just do a pedicure? And he's like, a bunch of women's gonna laugh at me.
I know. Men at their feet.
And I'm like, no, just sit there and just sit in the chair. And He literally almost fell asleep. The lady was like doing his, but he's been working so hard.
Yeah.
And it is such a necessary thing that we need to do. I know it's a luxury to go out and get nails done or, get things, but you can do things for free, like you just mentioned, even just taking a walk by yourself or just laying down on if it's warm enough, put a blanket out and lay out. I mean, just do taking that fresh air. It's so important to do that. Or if you love to read. If you
Yep.
love to like watch, you know silly shows, I don't know, and then do that and veg out. It's okay. Because
Hmm.
you're right. We're always in this hustle mentality. Like we gotta go, 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 go. And how much do we go, go, go? And it's so important that you set those boundaries. And I absolutely love that because that's my next question. How can women confidently say no without feeling like they're missing out also?
Again, this is one of my harder things to do. Like I said, especially now, I want to do everything. However, um, because I need to remind myself of what happened when I said yes to all these things and how stretched I felt. And, you know, um, I have like also kind of a painting of an octopus because a lot of times that's how I feel when I'm overstretched is like with all these things and I'm just like not sure what to do. So I look at that and I remember that feeling.
Hmm.
And again, I listen and I watch my friends. And a lot of times it's instead of saying no right away, I will say, "Can I think about that? Let me get to my calendar and check to see if that works.
Yeah.
Give me a few days to get back to you." So that helps me because, saying no right away is a little bit hard for me just because maybe I can work it in, or maybe, I still think about that. But I need to give myself time to sit with it before giving a direct answer. And then I realize I can't, and then I say, you know what, I'm sorry. And to be honest, I mean, people appreciate it more when you can tell them straight out, no, I can't, instead of you saying, yes, you can. And then at the last minute, you have to cancel.
Hmm.
Nobody likes that. Like nobody, I mean, people would appreciate your honesty and your truth from the beginning than you trying to switch back or trying to rearrange things and making things complicated at the end.
Yeah.
So I think that that's just what I've had to remind myself that me saying no doesn't just benefit me, it benefits the person that's receiving too,
Yeah.
because they've got to plan something. They got to think about all these other factors,
Mm.
or, they got to find another outlet. So it's okay to say no. But if you can't do it right away, say, can I think about that? Can I get back to you? Can I check my calendar?
Hmm.
Yeah, like
Hmm.
that.
So if you could give yourself, your younger self, I remember your younger self,
Yeah, I know.
but if you could give your younger self one piece of advice about self-care and boundaries, what would that be?
Um, again, I would just really go back to make sure you always have one day a week for you,
Yeah.
you know, and start planning that early because it's like me trying to say, I'm going to run a marathon. There's no way I can go from saying it to running it. I have to start slow. It's like the five, where they say the couch, the 5K, where
Yeah.
you just start practicing getting off the couch and you just start going and you do a little bit here and there. I mean, I think from a young age, I think you need to tell yourself, I am setting the best habit for me is by giving myself one day a week, just for me. No plans, nothing. I get to decide, and learning to take control of what is important for you. A lot of times, especially when you're younger, we come out of our homes, maybe go to college or maybe move out or do whatever. We're so used to somebody kind of guiding or telling us all these things. And we need to learn to listen to ourselves and find our voice. And that starts with you reserving a day for you. So.
Oh my gosh, so good. I start when you were saying that, I was thinking about that advice for my daughter, and she would definitely take that in. I mean, for so long, Paulo and I had given her like, here's the direction, here's
Yep.
what you need to do, and listen, we're always right. Just joking. Well, we've been there, done that, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we want to give the advice, but we also know that it's okay for her to make mistakes, and she has to go through her own trials and tribulations, and she has to figure out, oh, you know what? I tried it. I know mom them said not to do it. I tried it, but you know what? They were kind of right. I'm not going to tell them they were right, but I'm going to continue on. But they actually, she does tell us like, you know what, you're right about that. I really do need to take whatever, the situation was. And I do love that. And I often think about the listeners who, watch the podcast and then they listen in. If we could go back to our old self, gosh, that would be so great, right? It would.
Yeah.
But I would never change any of the things that we went through, because we needed to go through those trials and tribulations to get to where we're at today. Because if it weren't, then we probably wouldn't be where we're at. If everything was just decided for us and this is the pathway, then there's no stretching, there's no room for growth, there's none of that. And I am grateful, but I always ask that question. But don't you agree? Don't you agree that, yeah, you could tell yourself that, but I think in your life today, getting through this piece, in your journey, you needed to go through all your stuff to get to this point.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree, but I do feel like I do think that the earlier you can start to set good habits for
Oh,
yourself,
yeah.
yeah, the easier it is.
Yeah.
And I mean now I love my me time. But it took me about 47 years to create to get here, and I wish that um because I think when you have some time for you where you just go out or kind of, reflect or, have a little bit of that time, you can also start to think about who you can be or what do you want to become. I mean, I was always so set on just being this teacher and doing all these things. And of course, now I get to enjoy a lot more and I'm branching out, which of course is perfect. I think I don't regret a single thing. But I do, now when you get older, you think about all like, oh, I wanted to master this, I wanted to master that. So it is like, in those earlier days, if you can just really set time for you, then you can start to discover all these other things too that you're passionate about and try it out.
Yeah.
Because all those little good skills that you're going to build, you're going to use, later on. And that could be another thing for self-care is just really like kind of be your own cheerleader. Like
Mm.
when you're doing something great, talk to yourself. That was amazing. That I'm going to write this down. This was so great because those things that you do well along the way, you're going to need to go back and remember when you are having a hard day, to kind of talk
Mhm.
yourself and say, you know what? We've been here before. We overcame. We can do it again.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining this. I
Thank
mean, oh
you.
my gosh, how can we find you? Uh, and if you're in the area, again, say the name of your business, your company, and again, how can we find you on Instagram? Are you on TikTok, Facebook? Share all of your digits if you would.
Well, I would say, mainly I am on Instagram for La Sorrentina VW, Pizzeria La Sorrentina. I think that's where a lot of people can find me because I do run the social media. And I am there on Substack, which is this great kind of reading, writing uh platform. But definitely Instagram at La Sorrentina VW.
Love it. I am going to drop that into on the YouTube. So, thank you so much. Everything that you have shared with me, it's like a personal thing because I remember you going through a lot of everything that you've gone through. You know a lot of the things that I've been through in my life too. And when we talk about community, I think about you a lot in part of my community, being part of my community. And so I just say, I love you. And I thank you so much for being here with me on the Empowered Career Woman podcast. And for all of the listeners, you guys go out there, kick some booty today. And I mean, listen, I empower you. I lift every single one of you up. This is all about community. If you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about different other topics, drop it down on the YouTube. And I am so excited to talk with you guys again soon. All right. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.